Guess who's back? Back
again. And
Glenda's
you can't
back.
get rid of her.
Friend. We have returned. We apologize for the slight technical delay. The wonders of modern technology can be so wonderful and yet so frustrating at times. But we have returned to brighten your day. So begin again. Get your shares in, because we have got some humongous records to beat from last week.
I know.
The amount of shares was amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. Please, 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 please keep sharing and reacting, interacting. We love to see your comments. We love to hear what you've got to say. As Glenda was saying earlier, we have got two guests today, the lovely Leslie Knight and the wonderful Irene Renshaw, who are going to be coming on each in turn to share their story and their truth. And they will want to hear what you've got to say. They will want to engage with you. So like, share, engage, get involved, become a part of
show them the SPT love.
Oh, yes.
Okay. And I just wanted to say, Mama Brown said that I looked lovely tonight or this morning. Thank you, Mama Brown. I'm actually a bit under the weather, so thank you. That makes me feel good.
She's a good stick, bless her. But we have got so much to talk about as well. We've got the VIP night in November. We've, of course, got our first physical meeting to discuss as well. The wonderful Kate May will be with us as per normal, and it's so exciting. So let's get straight into it and say good morning. What's your name and where'd you come from? All you lovely people. Let's kick off with the lovely Jane Stockdale. Good morning to you.
Morning, Jane. Oh, we got Krish Pilly. She's laughing, LOL.
Bernadette Connolly. Sorry, I'm speaking bad today. Good morning to you.
Morning, and we got Karen Bullitt. Good evening. Oh, look at that cat picture. Isn't she gorgeous?
Absolutely stunning. Natasha Louise, good morning to you. Hey, everyone. Hey to you.
Stacey Edens, hello and welcome.
Morning. Paul Gouchard. Hi, Nick and Glenda. Nice sunny here in Scotland. Well, I thank you for that. It's sunny here too, actually.
Oh, excellent. I need the updates on what the weather's doing over there. What do I pack?
Absolutely.
Hello, Cindy Woodside. Welcome.
Good morning. And of course, here we go. Karen White. Good morning to Kanga and Nick. I'm surprised you didn't say Kanga and Christopher Robin.
Hi, Kazza, cheeky girl. And we got our Dawny Walden. Hey, Dawny, good morning. Again, Nick, Glenda, and Richard. And she shared. Yay!
Whoop, whoop. And Rebecca Whelan. Good morning and hi again. Yeah, hi again. Yes.
Oh, and look, we got Stacey Shaw. Morning, Richard, Glenda, Nick, and everyone in chat.
Notice she didn't say hello to her mother. Good morning to Richard Kirby. Hello there. Have you put 10p in the meter? Good luck. It's coming from near Croydon. Excellent. Morning.
Richard has put the coin in, the slot, Mama Brown says.
Yeah. Brilliant. Morning, Mum. And Michaela Hannah, good morning to you too. And good morning to absolutely everyone. If we haven't mentioned your name, it's just that we're trying to catch up, but we do say good morning to you. Hello, welcome, good morning, and good to see you all. And so let us begin. It's really quite exciting. I don't know about you, Glenda, but I absolutely love healing. And in this way of life, there are many different views, opinions, ideas on what healing is and how it works. We had a circle yesterday where we were sending out our absent healing thoughts as a circle, all linked in as one. But there are certain things that are important within healing. And today we've got someone here, amongst other things, is going to be discussing just that.
Yes, an expert on healing.
Absolutely. So let us welcome the lovely Leslie Knight. Good morning.
Morning, everybody.
morning. How are you? So, for those that have never met you before, what's your name and where'd you come from and what do you do?
Well, actually, I'm Leslie Moulton. It's just that my phone changed my video. No, I've recently got married, so that's my fault. I'm based at Wimbledon Spiritualist Church, where I'm a minister. I'm a medium. I run a circle there, mediumship circle. I teach. I'm a tutor there for the healing and do Indian head massage. So that's a brief thing of what I do. So
fabulous. Well, I apologize. It's a tradition that I get at least one person's name wrong a minute. So thank you for helping. It's
my own fault for not changing it, Nick. I should have changed it on my computer, but I know who I am, so I haven't bothered.
Now you've told me your actual surname. I know who you are too, because I have followed your work on Facebook. It's really difficult when you see people as postage stamps and words all the time, isn't it? But it's such a pleasure to have you on, and I know everyone is going to be interested. In fact, straight in, a local one to me from the Fens, who is a healer. I didn't quite catch the name. Can we just go back a second so I can be polite? Apologies, Richard. Thank you, Richard. Julie Breers, hello from the Fens, Wisbech. Now, Wisbech is very nearby us, and she is a healer. So we've got the healers in the house, as Kazza would say. What do you think is the most important? I know that's a really, really horrible question to ask, but from your perspective, what do you think is the most important part of healing?
Dedication. Definitely dedication. The course I do actually runs for 2 years, which seems a very long time, but it proves that those people are dedicated. We were talking earlier, weren't we, about courses where you just do 6 weeks and you become a medium and things like that. It's the same with healing. So for me, and this is my personal opinion, and I'm quite staunch about it, I do believe you have to be trained properly. Obviously, the healing ability is within somebody, and we aren't the healers. We just channel the healing. But the better we learn to channel that healing, the better the healing is. So for me, I'm a spiritual healer rather than Reiki. And dedication for me is 100%. 100%. It's how you talk to somebody. Lots of the courses don't bring into it body language, how you talk to people. Obviously, everything is confidential. You have to have that certain ability, and I feel that true healers are drawn to do healing. It's like a nurse, isn't it? It's a dedication. It's their life. A true healer, it's their life's blood. You couldn't stop doing it. You don't do it to get money. And trust me, if you're training to be a spiritual healer, you won't earn a fortune from it. Because I've been doing, I think I've been a healer probably now for about 22 years, and for training, been teaching for about 14. And with spiritual healing, most people do it for love. They work in an area, free will donation. If somebody can only give you £1, that's fine. Sometimes people have put money in the pot and I'll say, you sure you can afford that? Do you know what I mean? But that's my opinion. That's my opinion.
Well, I don't disagree with you in any way.
I've got quite strong opinions on it as well. Richard's probably going to be really annoyed that he's asked me on this morning.
I don't think so.
Believe me, Nick's got strong opinions too.
Yeah.
I think I've softened over the years. And sometimes that can be good and sometimes that can be bad, because I'm absolutely with you. Unconditional love, as Limo said, is a really important part. And I think commitment is an expression of that in a really, really strong and dedicated way. So you're coming on because you've actually got a course that's coming up as well, haven't you?
Yeah, as I was saying, our courses take 2 years, which seems a long time. But I think there was a couple of people, I saw their names come up, they've actually done courses with me in the past and become healers. And it does go very, very quickly. Oh dear, my battery's running out. Can you excuse me?
So everybody, please send your healing thoughts to Leslie's tablet while she grabs the plug so she doesn't lose the connection.
Everyone needs to charge up today.
It wasn't just me today, you see. Welcome to Monday mornings. This is
madness.
Joy.
Sorry about that. He plugged the computer in, but didn't turn the switch on. Yeah. So it's a 2-year course. Once a week, we sit once a week for about 2 hours. We have to do 200 hours in all. We get a manual. We have a code of conduct. And you have to be dedicated. You know, I've had people that have come, obviously haven't finished the course because of ill health or it wasn't for them. And I also think it's very good because we get to know those people. As a tutor, I get to know them because, well, I probably won't go down that road. But a lot of times you need to know somebody, don't you? So, okay, I will, Richard. I've got a thing about teaching healing online because I can't see how you can do that. Theory, we have to do a lot of theory work. We have to learn about the body and things so we become, you know, there's a professional side to it. And so if you're speaking to doctors and things like that, you know where body parts are, you know what they do. But a lot of, with healing, it's energy, it's linking into the person. It's how much pressure you put on their body. It's where you touch them, where you don't touch them. How can you do that online? You can do the theory. And I also worry for the simple fact that, you know, if I started a course online, how would I know if those people were psychopaths or had mental health issues or anything like that? Because it's very, very important that if you're going to do something like this, that you're, I mean, I say that you're well. I mean, I've had people that have been suffering with cancer that have trained with me. They haven't actually, by the time, touch wood, they've got to the end of the course, they're well. So things like that are fine. But if fortunately, if people are schizophrenic or they've got mental health issues, they're not the best people to actually talk to somebody. And, you know, sorry, Richard. Richard just asked me if I give interviews. And I always have a meeting before we start. And I tend to know the people that are going to last the course and the ones that aren't. I just get that inkling. And I do ask them, because I have to, are there on any medication? Are there any health problems? That sort of thing. Because I always say a trained monkey can put their hands on somebody.
Yeah.
And the healing. It's how you talk to someone.
Yeah, because don't you think that close,
you know, how you make them feel comfortable.
Oh, hello. That was strange. Don't you think it's the close contact, certainly with contact, close healing? Is that physical connection, that emotional, not emotional connection for healing, but that emotional conversation for the recipient, that coming together is vital. And you're absolutely right. I have to. You said I'm not going to go there. I'm glad you did. It really is quite important. There are some things that you can practice and learn online. Yes, certainly the theory I agree with. Yeah. But to actually say, oh, that person's a great healer, you've got to have their hands on you.
Yes. And everybody's energy is different. Yeah. You know, we have to do case studies. At the end of our course, we do case studies. And I know now a lot of the groups do case studies over the phone or online. And I can't see how you can do that, because one of the rules we have is, as a trainee healer, you don't heal unless your tutor is with you or a qualified healer is with you. So if you're online and you're doing healing to giving healing to somebody, say for instance, I remember once I had a young boy, he was about 16, and he used to come for healing. He had dreadful pain. And the only time he was pain free was when he had healing. And once the healing was finished, he would sit there and he'd be out for the count. And you could have walked away, left him for half an hour and come back. Now, if somebody online gave somebody healing and then they didn't come back, what would they do? If they're in Scotland, I can't go in and step in and help them and things like that. So, you know, there's so much more to healing than just laying on of hands.
Yeah.
You know.
So would you? Oh,
sorry. I know personally, because I am sensitive and things like that, I am very, very picky and choosy to who puts their hands on me. So I think coming from a client's perspective as well, people need to be a bit like curious. Where did you train? What kind of modality are you using? You know, ask around. Don't just kind of let anybody into your auric field. It's very, people don't understand how invasive it is to do healing, like how we can open our auric field up to let that person in. You've got to be able to trust that person. So,
and if you don't close down at the end, you know, you
Yes.
take their headache with you. You know, I always say to people, you must learn to close down properly, or you're sitting on the bus on the way home and you're picking up everybody's aches and pains and goodness knows what else. You know, you've got to know. I mean, my daughter Danielle, she comes in and she does a lot. We do a lot of one-to-ones in class, and she's a fantastic actress. And she comes in and she will give the most horrendous examples of different things that people could say. And at the beginning, people's faces are like this. Now, you imagine if you gave somebody, you know, somebody told you something really personal and your face went like that as a healer. As they learn to progress, they take that on board, because people will tell you all sorts of things that you don't really want to hear anyway. You know, and you have to learn to not take everything home with you. You know, obviously there's going to be people that play on your mind, but, you know, and there's people perhaps that you might not particularly want to heal, but that's a part of being professional and knowing how to deal with these things. You know, it's a lot to it. There's an awful lot to it. Yeah.
We've had so many comments, and I do want to get onto some of them. For instance, Julie Breers is, well, you're getting a lot of love from the fans, let's put it this way. Julie Breers absolutely agrees with you and made an interesting comment actually regarding absent healing, because in the situations where you can't physically get to someone, that is obviously but that's a different, I'm assuming. That's
things
like
different.
Absent healing are a different level of work, definitely, relating to what you do and what we're talking about with the knowing, the feeling. You can. Would you ever consider doing an absent healing course online yourself?
I think really it would be quite hard to actually. You could do a one-off, perhaps. But I don't think there would be enough on absent healing that you could do a course every week. We probably send absent healing out every 10 minutes. You know, somebody up this morning, you know, Glenda said she was a bit under the weather. Automatically, I'm sending her absent healing. You know, you see an old lady on the bus that doesn't look very well, in your mind, you're sending absent healing, aren't you? It's prayers. It's thoughts. It's that intention. At one time, we had to ask, that the rule was you had to ask somebody. So you had to say, can I send you absent healing? Which is a bit dopey, really. But now that rule's been taken away. So I always say to people, when you send absent healing, always visualize that person well. So if somebody's in hospital, don't visualize them in their hospital bed. Visualize them when they was energetic and they were well. And as you said, you know, if you've got a group of healers that come together and send out absent healing, the power is amazing. You know, absent healing is wonderful. you know, and I know so many people when they've been ill, you know, with the absent healing on different churches where you have the lists and things like that. It makes such a difference. Yeah,
absolutely.
It does.
It does.
Yeah.
I remember personally sending absent healing to a friend that was going to have surgery and anxious and, you know, preparing for it. And she messaged me afterwards. She said, I don't know what you did, but I've never been so calm in my whole life. She said, you know, it went so smoothly. And it's all down to that connection again, prayers, you know, asking whoever you connect with, you know, God, you know, to look after that person. Yeah, absolutely. What I was going to also suggest, could you maybe do a mini course or something like that with the absent healing for people?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think with absent healing, it's a case that anybody could do absent healing. You don't need to be a certain person to do absent healing. You know, I'll give you one example. When I first started training 20 odd years ago, my daughter had a baby and she wasn't very well, suffering from all the problems you get after you've had a baby. And I was quite new to this. So I, in my wisdom, sat there and visualised myself sitting on the end of her bed, you know, and I visualised myself touching her. Next minute, I've got a phone call. Mum, there's somebody sitting on the end of my bed. Who is it? And I said, oh, I think that was me, because I'd obviously projected myself. I've learnt now that I just ask up, you know, to whoever you believe the healing comes from.
Yeah,
exactly. But like I say, you only have to ask once. It's not something you have to keep on. So if somebody's not well in hospital, send them prayers, but you don't have to ask every 10 minutes. We don't do the healing. We just send out that intention for the absent healing, you know, and then whoever you believe in, whether it's God, whether it's the great universe, whether it's angels, it makes no difference. That healing will go. And like I say, you only need to ask once. You don't have to keep on and on and on. Some people think, you know, somebody's in hospital 2 weeks, you've got to ask twice a day. No, they've heard that healing will go, you know. Just ask and know that they've heard you.
Yeah, and picking up on that healing, sorry, but my left eye is playing up something shocking. Someone on this feed is having troubles with their eye and I can feel it. So whoever is out there that is having troubles with their eyes, I'm sending them lots of absent healing right now because my eye is playing up shockingly and I can feel somebody is having trouble.
Yeah. And that is one of the things, isn't it? That when you're sensitive, and lots of people are sensitive, and they will pick up on people's aches and pains. Even though they're not actually knowing that, you know, they've got that healing ability, but they, you know, they would just sense people's aches and pains and they think it's theirs. And you've got to differentiate them between what is mine and what is somebody else's. Same with emotional things, you know, when you walk in a room and you think, oh, that atmosphere as you go in. If you're feeling down, think to yourself, is this mine or is it somebody that I'm worrying about? And that feeling's coming in. Absolutely. I used to be dreadful with I've got 3 children and 7 grandchildren, I'm lying. And, you know, if one of them's a bit off kilter, it affects me. So I have to, not being nasty, but sort of put that, you know, that little bit of distance there so that I don't take it all on board. And that is another thing that you learn as you know, on the healing courses. There's so much to it.
Don't you think that it's really important? And we've got a lovely question from Joanne Lewis, which ties in with this. I think there is certainly an element that you have to keep out of the process to an extent as a channel that you shouldn't get too involved, because obviously then it will switch potentially to psychic and magnetic. But how important is the self? Joanne Lewis says, do you think that it's important that the vibration, that the healer keeps a high vibration and works on the self also? Should that be part of the healing process?
Oh, definitely.
Or a separate part of the process, or at the same time?
It all works together. It all works together, because at the end of the day, if you're not well yourself, you shouldn't give healing. And I always say to people, if I'm not 100%, then I'm not firing on all my cylinders. like an engine. Do you know what I mean? You know, I might only be able to do 50%, even though it's not me that gives the healing. That channel isn't as smooth, let's say. I always describe it like a watering can. That, you know, the healing energy comes into you're the watering can, comes in, and then it pours out into your client. Yeah, we have to look after ourselves. We have to be well. I always say to people, you know, if you're in class and you don't feel well, or you're feeling a little bit under the weather, that's fine, because we practice on each other. And 9 times out of 10, you'll go out feeling 100 times better than you did when you came in. But if you're going to heal somebody you don't know, then I would say no. But you do have to work on yourselves, because the more that clearer that channel is and the higher vibration you have, the better your healing will become. So it is very, very important.
Put it another way, you can't start the engine with a clogged fuel pipe.
Exactly. Yeah.
And with the healing and doing the work on yourself, it's like your car needs service, so do we.
And the worst thing is we forget ourselves as healers. We always come at the bottom of the queue. So I do a lot of meditations in my classes, where I always say to them, you know, ask for somebody else, but ask for you as well, because we feel guilty, don't we? If we say to spirit or whoever, you know, please, can you help me with this? You think, oh, I shouldn't do that. You know, I should be giving. But you've got to ask for yourself as well. You know what I mean? It's not selfish, because we've got to be the best we can be. I mean, my body is falling apart. Richard knows I've had so many bits replaced. I'm like the bionic woman. But I only got my head left.
Only got that head left.
That's just hanging on. But it's how you feel in yourself, and it's that spiritual feeling. Do you know what I mean? And there's ways around it, you know. I mean, in the old days, I used to be able to get on the floor and all sorts of things when I gave healing. Now I can't. I have to have a chair. But there's ways around it, and it makes no difference, you know.
Beverly French has got a question, and I think this is an interesting one to ask someone who's a healing teacher. I'm told I am here for spiritual work, but how do I find out what this actual work is for me, and what purpose exactly? Because we do hear people being told that frequently, don't we?
I've had many people come to say, can I join the healing course because a medium has told me I'm a healer. Yeah. You know, you've had a medium on platform said you're a healer. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're not so right. And of course, it's like anything. You get varying stages with healers. You get some healers that are very powerful, others that aren't so powerful, but you always get that benefit. I've touched wood. I've never known somebody have healing and come out and feel dreadful. And another thing is important, which I will say while I've got it in my head before I answer the question. If somebody says to you, I'm a healer, and this healer's come to give me healing, and she has to stay in bed for 3 days afterwards because I take so much energy from her, then that person's not healing properly. You, as a healer, you never ever give your own energy. That energy goes through you, and after you give the healing, you should feel better, not worse.
Yeah.
And people will reiterate on that come to the classes. You know, I mean, I've been doing it every Friday now for the last 14 years, which is a long time, you know, and I don't make money from it at all. I do it because I love doing it. And it takes dedication. And there's lots of times in the winter I sit there and I think I'd much rather stay and watch EastEnders and go and do another class, you know what I mean? But you go because you're committed. And then when you come out, you feel so much better. Because you've been replenished and whatever. Another question. Spiritual work. I think I would say, what spiritual work are you drawn to? Are you drawn more to mediumship? Are you drawn more to healing? It could even be that perhaps, like Irene, with poems and inspirational writing and that sort of thing. I know she's going to do a talk about that later. I don't know whether you're drawn to things like that. I would first of all find what it is I'm actually drawn for. Then I would try and perhaps go to a spiritual church near me, and ask if there's a course, if there's an open circle, if you can train to do anywhere that you can train to do that. Because you find that in most spiritual churches, and I say most, people there are qualified and they've been doing it and they know about spiritual things, and you can ask them anything. And if somebody, we don't all know the answers to everything, do we? And if we don't know, they can ask somebody else. So I'd always go that way first, or maybe even to the College of Psychic Studies, somewhere like that, you know, stay out and have been established for a long time. Please don't, I'm going to say it again, I don't go on the internet, and because somebody's saying I can make you a healer in a week, then, you know, off you go because you got that healing certificate. You won't know anything.
I know.
You won't, and I've actually done, I'm not going to mention what sort of course, but I've actually done another course just to see what it was like. And it's so not in depth. It's there's nothing there. And, you know, they're what I call Mickey Mouse certificates. If you do it properly, we have to have insurance. We have to be insured. And you do it with an established group or an established, like with me, United Spiritual Fellowship or SNU, or I think Nick mentioned another group where he trained. As long as you keep your insurance up and you keep up to date with what's going on, because things change. Healers that trained 10, 20 years ago, the rules are so different now to what they were then, that if they came and did their healing, they would probably get into trouble, because we're not allowed to do things like that. And that's one of the good things about being a tutor, is you're kept up to date on all the new things that come in. But you've got that for life. You know, you've got that certificate, you've got that forever. And it you know, it's recognised. If you're going to do it properly so that it gets recognised. You know, that's what I would suggest. What do I think of trance healing?
So that's a question from Julie Breers. What do you think of trance?
It's a hard one for me, because as a tutor, I wouldn't be allowed to do trance healing. I'm not saying there aren't good trance healers around, but again, it's something that is very, you've got to be trained. Saying this, now I will say this, somebody put online about a trance healing course, 2 weekends, and you will become a trance healer. Now, mediums that know with trance, it takes years and years and years and years and years to do trance. How on earth, and it takes years to become what I call a good healer, a dedicated healer. To do those in 2 weekends and say you're going to be a trance healer, be very, very careful. There are some amazing trance healers, but there are also a lot of people that aren't. And I think
so, for the benefit of those that are watching, because some people might be thinking, what actually is the difference between hands-on healing, absent healing, trance healing? What is your definition of trance healing?
Okay, so I'll go first with ordinary healing, because it might make it a little bit easier for people to understand. Lots of the groups now don't like hands-on healing. They heal aurically healing. So everybody's got an aura around their body. So you'd heal within that aura. So you never touch the person. I personally like to be touched, because I can feel where the healer is. And as a healer, I like to touch, because it gives me more of a connection. Obviously, there are places you can't touch, in which case you would use auric healing. So with a lady, you would heal aurically around the breast area. In the old days with Harry Edwards, you could just slap his hand on, and that would do it, you know. Or they used to say, you put your hand there and we'll put our hand on top. Can't do that. So those are the rules and regulations that you've got to abide by. Hands-on healing, you will touch the person, but you're not allowed to touch them anywhere, obviously, that is personal. In the old days, we used to be able to, I don't think to go like this down somebody's arm or somebody's back. We're not allowed to do that anymore because that's classed as massage. So we have to do this and take our hands off somebody. With both those forms of healing, you are the channel. So you are the channel. The healing energy comes through you and it comes into the person. With trance healing, the person giving the healing will go into trance. So they will become their guide, and their guide will then do the healing.
Yeah.
So say with me, with my healing, my guide will stand back and send the healing through me. With a trance healer, I would become my guide and do the healing.
That's how I do it. Yeah.
Make sense?
I let Dr. John work through me.
Yes.
And I can see what he's doing. And you know, a lot of the time I'm doing things with my hands because he's doing it. It's almost like psychic surgery or whatever they call it these days. You know, he's doing the healing.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I'm also kind of connecting and asking him, why you do that? Why did you do that? Why did you do it that way? And he teaches me. So it's quite amazing when you do the trance healing.
Yeah,
I find it fascinating.
It's very similar with ordinary healing because you might put your hand on somebody and you feel that you can see their inside, and you know it might look very red and raw, and then as you're giving the healing it sort of calms down. Say for instance you were giving healing on somebody's bowel area, it might look very red and sore, and then you'll see it go to a nice pink and a nice easing. And people sometimes will say, you know, we aren't allowed to move our hands as spiritual healers, you know, so we can't do, you know, massage or anything or anything like that. But they would say, oh, I could feel your hands, you know, it felt as though your hand was going inside me, and they're not, they're dead still. You know, my daughter, when she gives healing, lots of people say, oh, I can feel a second pair of hands working on me. So it's amazing. And all I will say is wherever you're going to have your healing, please ask for certificates, ask where they trained, you know, find out how they, you know, how long they've been doing it. Go get recommendations from other people. It's the same with mediumship, isn't it? You know, somebody will say, oh, I had a brilliant reading with so-and-so. Oh, well, I'll go and have a reading with them then. You know, recommendations are very good. Don't just pick somebody that will come at random. And don't always pick the person that costs the most either, because I think that says something as well. You know, they think because you charge an absolute arm and a leg for whatever the service, you must be so brilliant. And it's not true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not everybody wants to work that way. So,
speaking of people not always wanting to work that way, there are those that work in churches that work under the leadership of a trained and qualified healer who absolutely refuse to have any certificate to their name. They follow all the rules within the church, but they absolutely refuse. I don't want a piece of paper. I don't want letters after my name. I don't want a certificate telling me that I'm a healer. But they still work within the rules. They follow the rules of making sure they've got public liability insurance. But everybody loves them. How would you handle that situation? How would you feel about that situation?
I would say as long as you're insured, and they had been trained properly by a proper organisation. It's a very difficult one because lots of people should really ask to see a certificate. I know some churches, you go into a church and the healer will say, come and sit down. They give you healing, bye, and off you go. They don't introduce themselves. They don't chat to you. They don't ask what the problem is. Admittedly, we don't need to know what the problem is because we're not doing the healing, but it's nice to have that rapport with somebody. I've never come across that, Nick, to be honest. It's most people not want the accolade, but they want the qualification to prove that they've been able to do it. I would say it's basically would be down to the church. Yes, really. You know, I would
see
say
the thing is we and it's always a danger with people like ourselves who are involved in organizations. There are a lot of independent spiritualist churches out there, especially in the UK, that for various reasons are not affiliated with any group. And so there are local and regional healing organizations. For example, one of my ministers is registered, I believe, with the Norfolk Healers. They're not registered with any of the big spiritualist groups, and they do.
But imagine they come under UK Healers, though, do they?
Not necessarily, because there are other organisations as well. But the point is, there are a lot of independent spiritualist churches that still follow these legal rules and follow the rules of good taste and decency about ensuring that people are protected, keep a record, keep a list of who's actually doing what. Whether it's visible or unseen, to us is, irrelevant, so long as those logs are there. But they are still recommended by everyone. She's one of the best healers I've ever heard, but she's not actually affiliated with an organization. She's working under the auspices of that particular church. And
if
so
they
long
work
as that
for a church and the church is willing to take them on, that's fine, because if anything went wrong, then it would come back down to the church. So just say, for instance, somebody came in and said, you touched me inappropriately, or, this is why we should always have other people with us when we heal and not heal by ourselves. Then that would be down, to the church, basically. At Wimbledon, our healers, they don't have to be trained by United Spiritualists. They could be whatever, as long as they've done a proper training course. I just use training in United Spiritualists because I think they're a lovely group and that they're so reasonable. Some, you might go and train to be a healer and it costs you an arm and a leg for each module and everything. And ours is absolutely, I think ours is £21.65 a year. And that gives you the manuals.
Well done.
Good plug, yeah. It gives you the manuals, gives you everything. Whereas others, you could pay thousands and thousands.
Yes.
And so, Leslie, where could, if someone was interested in doing your course, could you let us know where they can find you? Like, could you tell us a little bit more about that course?
I mean, it's a 2-year course. It runs on a Friday between 7:15 to about 8:45 normally, a couple of hours. We have manuals. So we have theory work that we have to do where we literally learn about everything: chakras, colours, auras, how healing works, how you heal animals, healing children, you name it. It's in there really. I always put a little bit in there about grief, because I do add a lot to my course. I'm known for that a little bit. I do a lot of handouts and put extras. We have to learn a little bit of anatomy and physiology. It's not as big as the MVQ course, but it gives you a vague idea of how many bones there are in the body and, where bits are. So if somebody comes and says, I've got this, you've got a vague idea of where it is. So I normally would do half theory, half practical on each class. At the end, as you go through, we have to do case studies. So everybody has to do three people case studies. So you have to see those 4 times and do an in-depth case study on each person. And we have to keep records as well. So as a healer, you have to keep records for 7 years, or 7 years from when a child is over 18. We have to have consent from an adult if you're healing a child, and the same with any animals. You have to have consent if you're healing an animal from the parent or the owner. So there's lots of rules and regulations. What I like to do is I would teach people how to heal with a certain colour, whether they heal with black and white, whether they see, all different bits, auric healing, hands-on healing. And at the end of the course, they adapt what feels right for them. Because at the end of the day, if I'm saying, okay, let's heal with a white light, and they say, well, no, my guide wants to heal with blue. Brilliant. Because I don't want, say 12 healers at the end of the course are all healing exactly the same. And then at the end, if I feel they're ready, they go through to an assess. They have to be assessed. They have 3 assessors that will watch them heal, that will ask them questions on the course, and then they will decide whether they feel that they're ready. Kim there is one of my trainee healers that's passed with me ages ago, lovely healer, and yeah, and then, you know, if they're ready and they can pass, and that's it. It's I've probably forgotten, there's probably loads more to it that I've not put in, but it is in depth. It is in depth, and we have fun.
We have to actually go to Kate May right now, so we'll take a little break and off to Kate May.
Okay, see you in a moment.
We'll jump back onto that conversation when we get back. Yeah. And we're sorry guys, we're bringing in Irene when we come back as well, and we'll continue the chat. Sorry, got so many things going on. Okay, see you after Kate May.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to your week ahead tarot scopes. It is the 14th of August today, the 14th of August. So it's the 14th of August, week ahead. We are going to look at Aries first of all, using my Astro Tarot deck. Let's have a look. My name's Kate May, Modern Day Mystic. I don't even know if I've said that. Okay, Aries, Page of Pentacles. This is a new beginning card for you this week. This indicates that the ground is fertile. There is good news in the air, particularly around financial news or material news. You might be having some new ideas around your work, around your home, or anything that's got a material and earthly connection here. There's new ideas afoot. And with pages, the possibility is unlimited. You could find there's also good news around new beginnings, on especially material, to do with younger people around you. But if you've got some ideas this week, Aries, start to really manifest them. Okay, Taurus. 10 of Cups, beautiful card, Taurus. I went to a wedding yesterday and this is a wedding card and I'm a Taurus. Now this card indicates happy ever after. Beautiful week for you, Taurus. Feeling emotionally content, feeling satisfied, a job well done. Things you've been working on is going to start to pan out for you. Happy family news and just feeling contented and blessed and like you've got your everything that you wished for, Taurus. Beautiful week there. Success and happiness, especially emotionally. Gemini, we have the 5 of Swords, Gemini. This asks you to reevaluate things, check in. Is it worth it? You might have to think this week, is it really worth the fight? Is it really worth the energy and the effort for something? So having to weigh up a loss and a win. Some things you've got to lose to get a win. Sometimes a short-term loss is a long-term gain. So this card asks you to step away from anything that might be dramatic, that might be causing you stress or anxiety and mentally conflicting. Don't hang around where you're not wanted, but also be mindful of where you put your energy. Cancer, 6 of Cups, a blast from a past. So someone or a situation could come back in around you from the past, Cancer. This has a healing card though. This has a healing vibe. So if someone does come back into your life, there could be healing around it. It may be where you're thinking about nostalgia, you're thinking about past memories, but we're in a healing position there. So even if they were difficult past experiences, you're going to be able to use them this week to be able to heal and move forward. And I've just seen 222, so I love that when we see the angel numbers come in as well. Leo, 9 of Cups, feeling blessed, feeling happy, feeling contented. Lots of you are going to have your birthdays this week. This card is counting your blessings. This card is saying it's a 9 out of 10, not a 10 out of 10, but it's pretty good. And it's saying everything is just tickety-boo where you are. You're quite happy. In a minute, you'll want some more, but for the moment, you're counting your blessings and you're happy where things are. Virgo, 5, again, another 5. 5s in the tarots can be challenging. So Virgo, 5 of Wands. So you could be battling your ideas. You could be battling other people's opinions. Remember though, Virgos, they're just opinions. They're not necessarily right or wrong. This card asks that you listen for a little change, that you listen to everyone else's opinions before making your mind up. And sometimes this card of conflict and drama asks that you just step back from drama. Try not to get involved. Things that might feel a little bit tense initially will probably turn out to be not as bad as what you first thought. Libra, Pisces card, the Knight of Cups. Moving forward in your love, there could be emotional attachments coming to you this week. You could be stepping into new partnerships or deepening your relationship. If you're single, you might find that somebody comes along and sweeps you off your feet. There's romance in the air, but also creative and spiritual dreaming. Things are moving forward for you, Libra. Scorpio, Two of Swords. You could be feeling a bit stuck this week, Scorpio. You might have choices and decisions, but think, do I do this or do I do that? This week says just pause. Sometimes we have to pause and not make a decision as much as we want to. So Scorpios this week, it's saying just pause and don't fret about things. Sagittarius, the Star. Wishes are coming true. New beginnings for you. Hope, optimism. Stay positive. Capricorn, Two of Wands. There are choices and decisions afoot, whichever, I've got to speed up because of the time, whichever way you're going, Capricorns, things are going to be good for you. This card indicates that there is good news ahead, and again, you're moving forward. I don't think I did Sagittarius. Sagittarius, Queen of Pentacles, get your money sorted. Things are starting to get easier for you on a financial footing. Aquarius, you could be feeling a little bit lost or a little bit sad, but it's going to be important that you look at the cup half full, not half empty. Don't dwell on a negative. And Pisces, good news is coming, Pisces, and when you least expect it. Happiness, counting your blessings, and good news, particularly around children here. Get creative. Rush that little bit, but have a great week.
Guess who's back? Back again! Leslie, welcome back. Glenda, we've had such fun today, have we not? We've got lots
I'm
as well.
fascinated. The conversation, you know, because here in Australia, totally different rules, totally different. We can I say politely, we don't have a spiritual church everywhere the way in the UK, and I guess I'm going to notice that when I come over in 2 weeks. We don't have that. We don't have the circles. We don't have where we can go and do the hands-on training. So this fascinates me, you know, and the whole thing of the SNU, you know, all of those things that you guys talk about, I've never heard before. I have heard of a couple, but it's been really interesting, the conversations and the way things are done in the UK to here. So previously in some of the trainings that I have done, I've always been told that the UK mediums don't charge for healing, or healing should not be charged. Here in Australia, everything's charged. You know, like there is totally different concepts of here, the States, the UK. I'm noticing it's all different. So this is very interesting, the conversation that's coming up. And I can't wait to go over to Nick's church at Littleport and see how things are done there, because like I said, I haven't been to many. I've been to 2 spiritual churches here in Australia and been disappointed, unfortunately. So I want to see how a real one is run without a real one.
Bless you. And you're coming to Littleport. We're not exactly I will say Littleport is not exactly the average bear, but we do things, we do, like many churches, do things our own way, but within the bounds of good taste and within certain frameworks that are good taste, decency, and protecting people and the law. Now, we've got a wonderful question here which ties in beautifully with what you've said, Glenda. I'm losing my status of Queen of the Links.
We forgot Irene, did we?
But before we go to this question, which I really want to hear Irene's viewpoint as well, let's bring on the lovely Irene Renshaw. Good morning.
Hi guys, good morning.
Hello.
Hope you're all well. Hello, you 3 lovely people.
Hello, Irene. Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, just briefly,
Lovely to be here.
now many on SPTV will know you, and I certainly know. You poor woman.
We have a personal connection, Nick, but we won't talk about that.
we won't. No, we won't talk about being members of the Independent Spiritualist Alliance, being another one of those groups that exist. Oh, sorry, did I just do that? You know, for those that have never met you before, you know it's coming. What's your name and where'd you come from?
My name is Irene Renshaw. I live just outside Doncaster in South Yorkshire, and I am a spiritual medium. I'm also a healer, and I will talk about that in a minute, Leslie. And I also write inspirational poetry. And hello, daughter. And I'm Stacey's mother, Stacey Shaw.
And Stacey's
mother.
On here.
I'm Stacey's mum. Yes.
Oh, that's
So,
nice. I didn't know that.
Oh yes, she's my daughter,
Oh,
and I've
lovely.
taught her everything that she knows. She disagrees with me, but I have. It's interesting for me because I have been going on what you said, Leslie, about and Nick, of course, about all the years of mediumship. I have been a medium since I was 5 years old, and I say that because my grandmother was a medium, my parents were mediums, and I'm fourth generation, and I was taught the old ways of mediumship by my grandmother from 5 years old. And now I've got to the stage now where I am so in with my mediumship and my healing. And in fact, I'm doing a 2-year diploma course on crystal healing at the moment. But I've also I wanted to do the healing that you do, Leslie. I wanted to go into church and do it, but I got badly put off by somebody in a specific church who told me that I would never make a healer. But I know different. And they also told me that I would have to do that for 4 years, just sitting watching for a year before I did anything else, before I could do anything. And all these things happened. And I just said to this lady, I said, okay, I said, that's your opinion. I said, so I won't do that. But why should I pay you hundreds of pounds to permit me to have a certificate when God's given me this gift? And that's the way that I look at it. And it was going to be upwards of £1,000 over 4 years. And I thought, no, I'm not doing that. So I did it the other way. I have done courses on chakra healing, reflexology. I've done all the holistics, and I do the healing that way. I'm also to Reiki and to Sikhem. So, and that all enhances my mediumship. Every bit of it.
I think it all goes together. I mean, I had a very similar experience. I went on open platform donkeys years ago with mediumship, and it took me so much courage to get up there. I still don't like going on platform. Richard would tell you, I still get myself in such a pickle and a state doing anything. And I got up there, gave a message, and the chap that was running it said to me, no, you haven't got that link. And I felt so awful coming home. And I said, I'm never, ever going on platform again. As it was, I sat in circle at the time, and the gentleman that came through and said, he was wrong last night. I was there, and my teacher picked up on it as well. So somebody saying something like to you, I know can totally, disrupt you. And I think that's, like Nick was saying, you have to find the right person, to train you and things like that. And I do agree with you that healing, mediumship, anything is a gift from God. The unfortunate thing is nowadays is we need the insurance, we need that legal part, because life is so different now to what it was years ago. And that, there's so many things in the course I personally don't always agree with. And I think, oh God, that's so stupid. But for legal reasons, it has to be done that way. So life has changed so much. And I think that's why, the legal part is coming in. It's not so much that people, some people want the big I am, the big certificates, with others, it's just, shoved on the wall of the church. That's there. I'm qualified. I've done it. There we go.
I think a lot of it, I agree with what you're saying, Leslie, and it is very intimidating going on platform for the first 2 or 3 times. And another one of my pet hates is when you get somebody who is taking up a fledgling and that fledgling isn't ready. And I have seen so many fledglings go up with experienced mediums like myself. I mean, I wouldn't do that to anybody, but experienced mediums like myself, and they've just fallen apart because and I've seen them cry, I've seen them faint, I've seen them be physically sick because they've been put into a situation that they're not ready for.
Oh, well, they're just about to do that to me on the 9th.
Well,
I've taken fledglings up with me from my circle. If you know, I could tell the ones that said no, I don't want to do it, and the other ones that say, well, no, I don't want to do it, but they just need a little bit of a shove. Do you know what I mean? Because they're thinking, I'm not good enough. But we did all sorts of things. Some actually did inspirational speaking. Some actually just did ribbon reading. Some did some cards, and there were some that did mediumship. So they did what they felt comfortable with, rather than being pushed. But I do understand what you're saying, yeah.
And don't you
people
find
like
that,
don't? Sorry.
So don't you find that though, that there are the two extremes of the argument? There's the pushing people too quickly there, and then there's the complete opposite, like with Irene with the healing course, 4 years. Now, this is an interesting thing because we talk about laws and rules, but the different organizations that exist, certainly within the UK, all still have very different rules, best practices, and baselines to work from. And it can be very confusing to people when they're coming into this, that this is the only way. And we use words like laws and legislation when it isn't necessarily an actual legislation relating to healing and mediumship. It's relating to health and safety. It's relating to common decency. And I do believe that we do need to be more careful as a whole, which is really, really difficult because all of those different groups are saying different things, and it confuses the bajinkies out of people. You know, because
I think with the healing, I think a majority of the healing groups that actually train and get certificates are under the umbrella of UK healers. So
a vast majority would be,
you know, it would be UK healers, and then the others are all sort of, you know, get their what they should do and what they shouldn't do from that. I mean, you don't need to be insured. You don't need to be insured to be a healer. You know, you don't need qualifications to be a healer. But what is their healing like? What are they like? It worries me.
I think
it really does worry me.
Yes. So in relation to that, we have got a question from Pauline Fortune, which does tie in with absolutely everything that's just been spoke about, including the point that Glenda made. So Pauline says, I've done healing and mediumship for years, but also a qualified psychologist and behavioral therapist, which does help enormously. And I agree with you, Pauline, on that score. What do you think about doing a circle with people all over the world?
I think it depends what it would be for, really.
There's also timelines. The timelines are so different. Whereas, say, in Canada, they're 24 hours behind us, and then somewhere like America, they're 5 hours behind us. The timeline would be more or less impossible unless we was prepared to sit for 24 hours.
I think a lot of I mean, I was talking about somebody earlier. I think a lot of people from other countries I know who watch SPTV do come on, and it's sort of like silly o'clock in the evening, isn't it? Or silly o'clock in the morning. I mean, my personal view online, I don't like anything online, I suppose, that's linking with spirit. You know, I wouldn't agree with learning trance online or healing online or mediumship online, but that's my personal opinion. You know,
sorry, girlfriend, I don't agree.
And I'll be honest with you, I'm with you, and the reason for that is Glenda has just pointed out that Australia is a very different scenario. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some things that I would not teach online as a part of an online circle. But for instance, with Glenda, there's very few spiritual churches around. There are people who live in France who are, you know, original expats from England who don't have any contact with any spiritual churches, especially in France. They would be excluded without the ability to do something on that. Now, I would never do, for example, training people hands-on healing online.
No,
but I would have
no.
a workshop with, you know, absent healing and the different practical aspects of healing. But I do a mental mediumship circle online, because there are people that are housebound, bedbound. There are people that are in places where they cannot normally be reached or have the same facility that we do in the UK. So I don't want them to be excluded. So I will always try and find a way. It wouldn't necessarily be the same as a close proximity circle.
It comes down to the teacher, Nick. The teacher has to be advanced. The teacher has to know what they're doing. I just did a whole year with a very big medium in Scotland, and I'm just like blown away with what I've learned with him. But there's so many things that, like, I mean, what would have happened if, you know, with COVID, what would we have done? We would have sat in our houses. We would have done absolutely nothing. Instead, COVID came in, it opened up online, and everybody's development went really well. You know, people will be able to develop and stuff like that. I agree with that sort of thing. Hands-on healing, I'm with you guys. I think that definitely needs to be hands-on. Mediumship, trance, all that sort of stuff. I think it really comes down to the teacher and the student.
Especially with trance, if somebody went into trance and, you know, didn't come back properly, or something came through that perhaps wasn't as nice as it should be, and you're not able to be there to help them, that's what worries with that. I'd worry. And the other thing is, you don't know online what, you know, are those people I know it sounds awful. Are they stable? Have they got any issues? You know, I know I spoke about schizophrenic, or, you know, somebody's got a mental issue and they start linking to the spirit online. That worries me, but that's my personal. I've taught counselling course online, which worked out okay. I've done, you know, and theory, things like that. It's just the linking to spirit that I worry about. But that's just me personally.
But
I teach.
When it
Go on, Nick.
No, you first, Irene. You first, Irene.
I do development with my friend Jean. Nick knows. Jean and I do a development course, and we've just finished one, and we're starting another one at the end of September. Now, when we go into development and we do it in a circle, if Jean's not there, I do it on my own. But I always make sure when people are opening up and putting their protection up, that I am watching everybody to make sure that they do not go too deep. If they do start going too deep, then I have to go and talk to them quietly and ask them to listen to what I'm telling them, so they don't go cross over that line. And my daughter does that sometimes. If she goes into meditation, or if she's in a circle, sometimes 2 or 3 times I've had to pull her out of it because she's gone too deep. And that is the danger. If you, as you said, Leslie, if you do this online and that person doesn't come back, because if you're going into trance, you have to have somebody with you that you trust 150% to help you come back from that, to make sure that you come back right, and to make sure that you're okay. The one I've seen a lot of trance mediums, and like everything else, there's good and there's not so good. But the one lady that I did like, when they brought her back, she came back in the fetal position, and they brought her back blind. And her mum was with her, and she had to sort of treat her like a baby until she'd fully come round and fully knew what her senses were, to make sure that she was okay. And then she'd immediately drink a pint of water, and then she'd be fine. It's very dangerous.
I meet with a friend once a fortnight. I say meet with a friend. I go online once a fortnight with a friend, and we sit and do trance. You know, one of us goes into trance, and the other one will go into trance. So, you know, we sit together. But obviously, I've been taught outside, so I know what I'm doing, basically. Do you know what I mean? Which is slightly different. But I do worry, you know, and as Glenda said, it probably is a lot to do with who's teaching as well. You know, who's actually teaching the course and things like that. I mean, it probably, you know, the chances are it might not happen, but it just worries me. It's just a personal opinion.
I think and I agree, and I think it's great that we're having, you know, different views shared in a passionate and this is what I love about SPTV, the passionate but cordial conversation, playing devil's advocate, for want of a really better term, you know, on the different aspects of it. I mean, for me personally, with the mental mediumship side, if you are running if you are in a, and this is where I think you'll probably agree with me, Leslie, if you are in a position where you've got to the stage where you are teaching development, so particularly online with the mental mediumship, you shouldn't actually need physical contact to be aware of what's going on, see what's going on, intervene with your guides on behalf of that person to protect, watch over them and look over them. You know, people think that when I mean, for example, when I do the online circle and I take people through a guided meditation, I'm sure people must think that I'm sitting back behind the camera with a beer in one hand and a fag in the other.
You are. I've seen you.
Watching Netflix. But I am literally watching people like a hawk, and I'm linking in with them like a hawk, and I am focused on them because it is my role and responsibility as a circle leader to take responsibility for those individuals and have ways and means of bringing people back out and making sure. That's why before we do a guided meditation, I always say, right, it's time for an empty and a refill. You've heard this one, Glenda, because that's the time to go and make sure your glass is full of water for when you come back. And, you know, I was trained that you must have a sip of water when you come back from your workings, just to help with that disconnect and to help restore that physical function. So, you know, although I'm probably, you know, much more relaxed about online because of my personal experiences, I think we actually all agree that it's about making sure that you are with the right person who's got the best intentions at heart for your protection and guidance.
Yeah. And
because
for what if you was with a teacher that didn't know what they were doing, and how does anybody really know unless, you know, it's from like SPTV or somebody, you know, that Richard has seen working and, you know, knows that they're doing things the way they should do. That's what worries me online as well, that anybody could say, you know, my husband could turn around, for instance, and say, right, everybody give me a £5, we'll all sit and do an online circle, and he hasn't got a clue what he's talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm sure it happens for people to get money.
It does. And I think what's really important, I think, once again, I think everyone's going to agree here. I hope anyway. I might be quite modern with my technical fangled stuff, but I tell you what, I'm deeply old fashioned, that the only way to find somebody to work with, the only way to find somebody to make use of healing, mediumship, mentorship, circles, what have you, the only way is the old fashioned and best way. Personal recommendation.
Word of mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, we should. We just got to mention, Richard's just reminded us about the reviews column on SPTV, that people can go in and say, you know, their recommendation, who they've had a reading with, who they've had healing with. That way, our SPTV family can go and check the reviews, go and check who's legit and who isn't.
Yep.
Absolutely. And it's another modern way of making use of that talent, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is.
Absolutely.
I think it's quite scary, the people that teach and the ones that want to teach. I saw one the other day. I think he was advertising a Reiki, and then you would literally, I think it was 2 weekends or 1 weekend, and then you'd be fully qualified.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
they do it here too, Leslie, all the time. I see it on the weekend. Next minute, they're out there in the world doing it.
And one lady actually wrote on there, will I be able to learn lots of money from this? And I just thought,
for me, it's not about the money. For me, it's
what I think.
What I do. What I do.
This is the thing.
Is a vocation for me. It's I've been doing this more or less since the day I could walk and talk, and my spirit family are wonderful, and my guides are wonderful, and I always listen to them. They will always tell you the truth. They never lie to you. And the only time I ever change a message is if it's bad language, because I do not use it in my daily life. And I know that's rare these days, but I just don't. And I don't, if my family come into my house, they're not allowed to smoke and they're not allowed to swear. And if they do, they're out, because I'm very strict with that. But also, can I just pick up on something that we've all said, but between good and bad? I did a service, it was about before COVID this was, but I've never forgotten it. And I'd followed, these people had a service once a month. And I saw some people in the corner after I'd finished, and one of them was shaking. So I just went up and said, can I help you? Have I done anything? And she looked at me and she said, I just want to know what you're going to tell me. I said, I'm finished for the night, sweetheart. I said, I've closed down. And I said, tell me what the problem is. And she'd got an elderly mother who was bedbound at home, and she only had this hour once a month out, or 2 hours, to come to the service. The medium who had been on the week or the month before had told her that her mother was going to pass away within 3 days. They'd also told her that she wouldn't be there and she'd not see her again. And I'm going, oh my goodness. I said, right. I said, okay. I said, well, one, they shouldn't have told you that. I said, and two, that is not something that we say, because when you've signed that invisible contract with spirit, it's one of the unspoken rules that we don't do that. But then the lady, this is what got me, and you two ladies will understand this. What got me, there was a lady sat next to her, and she said, well, you want to hear what she told me? I said, go on then, I'm listening. And apparently this lady had some health problems in her tummy, and she was in a lot of pain with it. So I said, well, when you finish talking to me, if you want me to, I'll do a little bit of healing with you. So I did. And I said, go on then, what did you tell me? Apparently this medium said that that her aura was broken, and that she was going to go into her body and fix what was there and then come out and then mend her aura. Please. I said, it's a load of rubbish. I said, never in my life have I ever heard anything like that. And this is the story sometimes that I use when I'm trying to explain the difference between mediums and how they work. What I do is I'm all for truth and faith and everything, and God is my boss. And if I disrespect him or my guides or my spirit family, he can take this away from me as quickly as he's given it to me. And it takes a long, long time for any of us to be where we are. It's taken years and years and years. And I'm one of Nick's ministers as well. I'm an ordained minister in his church. And I just love what I do. So I don't see how anybody could say and upset people like that. It just makes me cry just to think about it, because those people had been a month without anybody to talk to who didn't understand what was going on. And I said,
it's all down to training again, isn't it?
It is, but that's...
Richard's just doing a download.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. For those that are at home, Richard has just made an extremely valid point, and that is the difference between online and spiritualist churches. Yep. Because when you go into a spiritualist church, you make that connection. People can actually see what's going on with you, help you, be there for you. And you know what? I'm absolutely with Richard on that. I would never give up my church to go fully online. It's the part of the week that I look forward to the most, because they're not my church, they're not my congregants, they're my friends and my family. They're the ones that keep me up when I'm down. They're the ones that bring me down when I need to be, because I'm too far up something, as Eunice would probably say. And, you know, to hear that story, unfortunately, Irene, you're not the only one that's heard that story, because there is so much of it about, and it is disgusting. And you're absolutely right, Leslie. It is down to development and training. And there was a couple of comments as well that said, I was always told we weren't supposed to do that. So was I. But there is never more of a time for me to be able to step in and use one of my favorite, as a Christian spiritualist minister, phrases: by their fruits you will know them. There's not a lot that I read out of that book when I'm doing work as a medium, but that one definitely: by their fruits you will know them. If they are shoddy, unkind, and just doing it for the pizzazz and the big wow and the big I am, you'll know it and you'll see it. And that's when you should just walk away and find someone else. And you can find good, genuine, decent people in churches throughout this country and all over the world. Not so much in Australia, as Glenda has pointed out. There aren't so many over there. But it's certainly in the UK, you will find groups of family and friends who will help you, be there for you, and won't blow smoke up your backside or talk absolute shite like that. And
our
on that
motto
note,
at our church, our motto in our church is, I'm sorry.
We've just got to go to an advert.
On that note, we've just hit 12 o'clock and we've still got loads to get through. So very quickly now, I'm not going to rigmarole it. Adverts, mate.
Spiritual Psychics TV presents a wonderful evening of mediumship and trance. Our evening is hosted by Nick Brown with guests Bill Hughes, Glenda-Marie, David Hale and Minty May. Our exciting event is being held at the Littleport Village Hall, which is in Ely. The date for our magical showcase is Saturday the 9th of September. The price is only £10, which includes refreshments. For ticket information, please visit myspiritualevents.com.
Nadija Bajrami, a strategic hypnotherapist, mind coach and psychic medium, invites you to embark on a journey with us, a comprehensive 4-week mediumship beginner's course. As an exclusive privilege, this exceptional opportunity comes at no cost for our esteemed EVIP members. Delve into the intricacies of honing your natural gifts and harmonizing with the spirit world. The course begins on Sunday, November 4th at 7 p.m. via Zoom, and details will be placed in the VIP lounge. For more information on becoming a VIP, visit sptv.uk.
Are you planning a paid spiritual event or looking for something to do this weekend? Then visit myspiritualevents.com. You can browse the listing, view the event details, watch a YouTube clip, look at a mini gallery, select dates and times, pay for tickets using PayPal or your debit card. Organizers can register for free and start selling tickets within minutes, be it for their online or in-person spiritual event. As an organizer, you will have access to your own admin dashboard, which will display information such as your income and your bookings, all in a simple and user-friendly display. It's free to use. Join and upgrade to an organizer. Come and visit us at myspiritualevents.com.
Join Minty May live tonight from 8 p.m, offering tarot and mediumship readings to our viewers. Tomorrow from 6 p.m, SPTV Community Showcase offers our viewers the opportunity to have their own show, be it readings, their own thoughts and opinions, etc. Are you looking for some spiritual love or relationship guidance? If so, then join Jennifer Rose tomorrow from 8 p.m.
Here we are again. Hello, Glenda.
Hello, Nick. I've lost you in all of that conversation.
I know.
It's been fascinating.
Leslie and Irene are out the back in the green room at the moment, just having a bit of a breatver, bless them. I think they need
put them on ice.
I think
we have to put them on ice.
I think we've poured them some extra gin, because that would be quite helpful. But just to let everybody know, there is a couple of amendments here. Tonight with Minty May, it's a 2-hour special because with Minty's show tonight, we're actually having that wonderful AI concept. And I know Richard's looking forward to it. And I know it's something a lot of people really enjoy. And if I can, I will actually dip in as well. So tonight, 2-hour special with Minty May with the AI interface, getting involved with a mediumship. So that's something really, really good to look forward to. And of course, the VIP event in November with Nadia is actually the 5th, not the 4th. The 5th, not the 4th. And then there's something going on tomorrow, isn't there, Glenda?
There is. Tomorrow we have Kathy Pierce doing her showcase at 6 p.m. And then we have the amazing Jennifer Rose, our Jennifer Rose, the Love Connector. She's coming in at 8 p.m. So everybody, you have to tune in and support Jennifer Rose with her very first show. And give us some questions. This is the time to get the love questions flowing. And then the main, relationships, all of that life stuff, like Jennifer's got the answers, or she's going to try and help with the answers. So get your questions ready to give to Jennifer. The other thing that we have that we need to make mention that's coming on the 9th
of September, not long now,
is the SPTV massive show with all of us. So guys, who's got the tickets? Who's coming? Who's coming to see all of us on the 9th?
And you know what? It is great because I keep getting questions about it every day. And, please, please, please get your tickets nice and quick, because I've got a funny feeling we're gonna run tight on this one. So do get online on My Spiritual Events. There will be a link around somewhere, I'm sure, in the not too distant future from the lovely Richard advertising. It's going to be amazing. I am so looking forward to having the lovely Glenda-Marie, your good self, up in Little Port from all the way from the other side of the planet. You won't be my little postage stamp anymore.
I know.
And the wonderful David Hale, the gorgeous Bill Hughes, and the delectable Minty May. But of course, there is that other reason for coming, of course, because Richard's gonna be there,
Richard,
and he'll be walking. He'll be walking around in a black box over his head, or a white helmet, so he's looking like him off the car show thingy. So he still isn't recognisable. But you'll know the voice. You'll know the voice, and it's so exciting. So that is at 7:30. Oh, I thought it was supposed to be me doing the silly voices on the night, Richard. Sorry, I had to get that one in. So I don't do silly voices, just for reference. I was being ironic. But that night is going to be amazing. So Bill, Minty, David, and Glenda will be doing a demonstration of mediumship from 7:30. After the demonstration of mediumship, there'll be tea and coffee, quick break for refreshments. And then there will actually be a trance demonstration of mediumship by myself. And after what we've all spoke about today and all of the things that I will just say, my first demonstration of trance that I did was 20 years ago. I've been doing it ever since, but I've never actually done it publicly until now. I've recorded it and posted it online once, but I've never actually done it in a public hall in front of people of a mass amount until this time. This will be my first time publicly. So I have taken my time and my merry way of waiting patiently until the time is right. But it is exciting, and it will be an experiment. And I know Richard's going to be testing me, and he will also have an infrared camera on me as well. So that will be interesting. But it really is quite exciting, and I am looking forward to it. So do get your tickets. Shelley's just said I'm only going to see Richard. Lisa Snyder says,
Lisa.
Sounds so cool. I do know that the trance bit will be saved for posterity on SPTV. But if you want to see the mediumship, buy a ticket, go to Little Port. It's in the middle of East Anglia. So if you're anywhere in East Anglia, we're not too far away because we're on the A10. So come and join us. Come and see us. But for
Minty's
now,
on the feed saying hello as well. Hello, Minty.
And hi, Minty. Looking forward to seeing you not long now.
It's going to be awesome. He's saying he can't wait.
Oh, bless him. I'm really looking forward to meeting Minty, actually.
Me too.
I'm looking forward to meeting you all, to be fair. But anyway, moving
I'm super
on.
excited. I can't wait. 2 weeks and I'll be in the UK.
I know, not long now. Tick, tick, tick. But now let's bring back some lovely, lovely guests, because I know Irene originally came on to talk about her poetry.
Yeah.
And you know, we have, but this is what I love about Mondays. It's great, isn't it? Because people lead the conversation, and it's your comments that lead us down that path, and it's been great. So thank you so far both for your input. But Irene, poetry.
Hello.
Why?
Yes. Why not?
Good
I've
answer.
been I've been writing poetry more or less since I've been doing mediumship. I started in school, and as my mediumship developed, so did my poetry. I haven't got all the ones from years ago. I'd have thousands if I did. Then family got in the way, and I had the children, and I put it down for a while. And then when I came back to doing my mediumship, because I'll just quickly explain. I lost my mentor 3 years ago, and I'd been with him for years and years and years, and it upset me. It really did, because we were so close, very good friends. But he came to me soon after he passed, and he said, keep going. I'm going to help you. Keep going. I'm training to be a guide, and I'm going to help you get back on your feet, which he did. And then, of course, I met the wonderful Tony and Jean, as you know, and they took me on, and I got back out there. And as I did so, I had my guides come in, and they just said to me, pick your pen up. I'm like, okay. And the first 2 or 3 was just scribbles, and then they started giving me other bits. Sometimes they will give me a whole poem. Sometimes they'll give me a title. Sometimes they'll just give me a word, and I work around that. But every poem that I do has a meaning somewhere for somebody, and it all comes from spirit. It's with my help, we do it together, but I give them the credit that is due, because without them I couldn't write such beautiful words. And I always say there's so many beautiful words out there, and so many different situations, and I've got all kinds of everything on animals, guides, angels, time, rivers, you name it, and I can write it. And I'm very often now asked to write for weddings and funerals as well. And as you know, Jean and I do spiritual funerals and naming ceremonies, and we can do weddings as well, because we're ordained ministers. And I think it's a wonderful thing when somebody wants a minister there, but not a deeply religious, and you know, because spiritualism is all faiths. It doesn't matter what faith you personally are. For me, spiritualism is all faiths. But without our good Lord upstairs, who is our boss, I couldn't do what I do, because it's him that gives me permission to do this beautiful work. And I class doing my poetry and spiritual writings as a gift, like a healer or like anybody that does this work. It's just a wonderful gift. And as I said, for me, it's a vocation, something I've followed all my life. And if anybody wants to try and take it away from me, then good luck. There's only one person who can take it away from me, and that's the person that gave me this wonderful gift. And I speak for spiritualism all the time, for actually doing what I do and being given this gift of being able to help people. Because as with Leslie and yourselves with healing, it's helping people. And sometimes you have to talk to people. Last night I had a lady, gave her a message, and she said, my sister's been in spirit for, I forget how many years she said, but I brought her through. It's the first time she'd been through, and it was wonderful because she rolled up, and I just said, do you want me to stop? And she went, no, it's just the first time she's been through. And it was a wonderful message. And if I can help somebody that way, and if I can help without being too personal into getting people to go and see the doctor if they need to, or to go and talk to somebody if they need to. I mean, I've got one in here called That Broken Road, and it's all about the life. And I've got another one called The Silver Thread, which binds people together. But the one I'm going to read out today, I've just called it Time, because time for me is a precious gift, and it's the one thing we've never got enough of. So if you'll indulge me, it's only a short one because I'm aware that we haven't got a lot of time. And I wrote this one in March of 2022. Time is a precious thing and it goes so fast. Minute by minute, nothing lasts. A second in time can mean so much. A smile, a touch, a word of love. It can make you happy so you are glad, or it can make you cry and make you feel sad. A moment is the difference between birth and death. It can bring such joy or a time of regret. Time goes by in the blink of an eye. It's the difference between hello and goodbye. To have someone here one day, then they are gone. Hoping to have them in your life, to all live as one. Then you are all that's left and find yourself alone. You live on memories and are broken. Time rolls on, you cannot get it back, and sometimes everything looks dreary and black. But you have to keep on moving to find a better place. You keep going until once again the world you can face. It is not always life and death, and as you move forward you strive to be your best. You work harder at relationships with your lover, family and friends, and sometimes you might find new beginnings. So remember, when you are looking for your place in time, you often have to wait in that line. Time is a minute by minute, it doesn't last. Time is very prescient and goes oh so very fast.
Wow, that was beautiful.
Thank you.
Wow.
And you know what? It highlights a really important thing, and I know that we're all deeply passionate in our own way about certain things. But what I know is we are all passionate about helping people and being there for people, and helping people to grow. And when it comes to, for example, a service, a divine service, or an evening service, the readings and the philosophy is the message that can reach everyone. And by creating poetry as you do, it is a message that can help more people, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Because, I mean, we've got the funeral on Wednesday, actually. My husband's just recently lost his last living brother. There was 10 of them, and he's the oldest, and he's outlived all of them apart from, so it's Uncle Bill's funeral on Wednesday. And time is one of those things that you think when you're young, oh, it's going to last and last and last. And then you get sort of to the twilight years and you think, and a lot of people come up to me and say, oh, I'm getting to that end now. I'm going to die soon. No, you're not. Don't think like that. It's one of those things. When your time is up, our good Lord will take you home with your spirit family, and you will, they will see the people that they haven't seen for years and years and years. I mean, I've astral traveled. I've been to the spirit world, and it's a beautiful, beautiful place. It really is. And this is where my poetry comes from. I write my poetry not only with spirit, but I also write it on sometimes my own experiences, but I hide it well so nobody knows it's about me. And I also I've got one in there that I wrote just by a little girl saying to her mummy, Grandma and Grandpa are in heaven now. Keep me safe, Mummy, keep me safe. I don't want to go to heaven. And I've just called it Keep Me. And it's all, and this is how I get my poetry. And I wrote one for Uncle Bill at rest, and I write all sorts of things and they just come to me. And when I'm told to put down what I'm doing and pick my pen up, if I don't do what they tell me, they keep nudging me and poking at me until I do that, because they want me to write. And same with your writing, Nick, when you're writing philosophy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You have to do it. I mean, somebody came to me last night and said, how do you do it? Now, because they've tried to write philosophy, but they don't write it down there and then. And I think for anything, poetry, philosophy, whatever it is, you have to write it down while it's in your head. Same as you with your healing and doing your courses, Leslie. You have to write down, if you're doing something, say on counselling, and there's something particular that you want to include in that. If you don't write it down there and then, you might forget it or not put it in such a way as you wanted it to. So, that's how I write. I just get inspired, but I'm inspired by spirit anyway. I always have been. It's a wonderful thing to have this gift.
Speaking of the word inspired, the love for your work is flowing in the comments, and one in particular, Kelly Rockett, my lovely Kelly Rockett. She was on the first ever show I did, among many others, of course, but Dawn always used to love her surname. Inspired to pick up the pen again.
Well, good luck, Kelly. That is lovely. Yeah, please do, because we need more. We need more inspirational writings, and we need more philosophy, and we need more beautiful poetry. And I know there's lots of people out there, and I have actually, hopefully, got a book coming out of poetry, and I chose a name, and because it's from spirits, I'm giving them the credit. I've just called it Spirit Realm Poetry.
Fabulous.
And I've got enough now. Since this started last year, I've now got another 3 files, and I've got enough to do another 2 books, because I write constantly. Sometimes I can write 6 poems in a day, because that's how they work with me. And I'm getting warm because they're around me now. So, but that's fine. But if anybody wants anything specific, I try and write around them and try and sort of get that. And I don't charge for my poetry. I don't charge for when it's in the book. That's different. But if I take a poetry to a church, for instance, or a centre, like if I came down to Littleport and you wanted one, I always bring a spare copy with me, and I'll say, well, there it is. You can have that one. And you know, the one that I gave to Tony, Don't Be Pretending, for the Rainbow Project, you know, I gave that to him because he loved it so much, and I wrote it with that in mind, with the Rainbow Project in mind, and all the diversity that's there, and still people are not coming into that and understanding what it is to be transgender or to be gay or anything like that. So that's why I wrote Don't Be Pretending, and I read it out. I think it was on here. We was doing a service, and Tony went, "Oh, I love that." I said, "You can have it, Tony. You can have it for the Rainbow Project." So
I remember.
Yeah, you liked it as well, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I remember it as plain as day, as if it was yesterday. Thank you. So, where can people? When's the book out, and where can people get it?
Yes, I want one. I want to share all your poetry on my page. Absolutely beautiful, Irene. Yeah, wow.
Well, let me just say that I've spoken to Richard, our lovely Richard, and he's going to help me set a website up. Bless him. But I'm just on with making some payments with it now. Once I've made the payment, then it will be going into print. I'm not quite sure where it's going to be, but I know there's going to be an online connection, and I also know it's going to be sold in bookshops as well. And I believe that it's going to be written in different languages as well, but I'm not sure on that one. And there's 35 poems in the book, and they're all original works. There's not one that I haven't written. So hopefully later this year, hopefully, fingers crossed. Yes. I'm hoping for October, but I haven't got the link yet. But as soon as I get the link, I will ask Richard if I can put it on here, because Richard's also asked if I could do some poetry for SPTV. Obviously not in my book because of copyright. So I've got to do new ones for Richard. And that one that I've just read out is the first one that I've sent him. So brilliant. I thought he'd like that one.
Excellent. Yeah, okay, He's got Richard. It. He's got it. He's lovely. Got it.
So, you know, brilliant. And again, I'm not charging Richard or SPT. It's just my pleasure to do it. It really is. Brilliant. Like I say, for me, it's a vocation. I love what I do, unless you can't tell.
Bless you, Irene.
Are you talking to me, Richard?
So when Spirit drops these poems, downloads to you, do you get a lot through meditation? Are you just sitting there channeling? Are you just sitting there watching TV when they come? Like, let us in on how the magic happens.
Right. Well, I do a lot of knitting as well. For for various reasons. I'm giving that up now to do my poetry. But no, I can be doing anything. I can even be in the kitchen cooking, and suddenly I'll get something in my head that's strange, and they'll say, you need a pen, or they'll give me a title, say, don't be pretending, for instance. Or I'll just get a word, or I'll just hear a phrase. And it just all works from there. And I just put it together, do 2 or 3 rough copies till I'm happy with it. And then I type it all out and make sure I've got a copy if I'm going to church. And if they want a copy, I'm more than happy to let them have a copy. So it's just the magic of writing with spirits and for spirits, and for all the lovely churches that I serve and all the lovely people I come into contact with. And I'm very often given poetry as well. So that's in a different file because I haven't written those. I think the last count was, I think I'm on about 600 or 700 now. All in different files. And I do everything. I do love, heartbreak, family, animals, breakups, or things like Don't Be Pretending. I've got one called The River. I went down to Wales to see my friend a few years ago, and I was sat on Angle Beach, and I'd got my notebook with me, and I wrote a poem there and then about Angle Beach. Don't know where it came from. It was just sit and write. So everywhere I go, I take a notebook with me.
I tell you what, Irene, I would love to sit in one of your meditations, because I think that you could bring through some magic. I really would love to do one of your meditations. Do you do meditations? I know you're not a big fan of online, but I'm going to push you out of your comfort zone here and say you really should do this sort of meditations with your channeled poetry, your channeled words. I think that you'll get a lot of people that would come and enjoy that space.
Well, I don't like to say anything, but I am actually a trained meditation teacher. But I don't use it because I've got to do it. You've got to do it. But I have got to do some meditation for my crystal healing course, the diploma course. I've got to do some meditations for that. But I've got 7 to do, all on different subjects. And I found it interesting when I first started this, because the first one was I could choose one of my own. And me being me, I had to choose the most difficult one, Welsh Preseli Blue. And there was so much history. That's the stones that are Stonehenge, Preseli Blue. And there's so much interest. But then now I've got to do meditations. But sometimes I find when I go traveling with spirit, they take me all sorts of places. And sometimes I'll end up on top of a cliff, and I'll be on an eagle's back flying. And then other times I'll be in the water, and I'll be taken down to the bottom of the ocean by a dolphin or a whale. And it's just a wonderful experience. And I don't know anybody else that's had that experience. And if they have, I would love to know about it, because I get these, when I go into meditation, I get these wonderful things. I go into crystal caves, and I see animals that we haven't seen that are extinct, like the saber-toothed tiger I've seen. And I just get all this in my head, and it just blows me away. What the spirit world is like, it just absolutely blows me away. And I just love it. I love what I do with it, and where I go with it, and where they take me, because this is all down to our Lord and my guides and everybody and my spirit family. And it's lovely as well, because sometimes I meet people from other families, and they say, can you tell Mum this? And sometimes if I ever get to Liverpool, I mean, my sister lives in Wisbech, so I should get to Liverpool, Little Port. But if I went down to Nick and I had one of these meditations, I'd probably be telling somebody in the congregation about their family, because they've spoken to me while I've been astral traveling over in spirit. And it's just wonderful. I just can't describe it. Can I just quickly show you? Let me just get up a minute.
Oh. Sounds like one of your meditations, Nick. We went astro flying and messaged things in your meditation. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. My husband treated me, and he was very expensive, and he's my pride and joy. Hang on, where am I?
Oh, beautiful. Is that a head?
Yes, it's a Native American.
Mate, I thought so, yeah.
And it's labradorite.
Beautiful.
And if you look at the top there, when it's in the sunshine, I've got a rainbow.
And is that his like little feathers on the top?
That's his feathers. Yeah, that's his feathers. And
wow.
It's made from one. It was done by master carver. One piece of labradorite.
It looks heavy.
He is quite heavy, and he works.
Yes, it
with
is
me.
labradorite. Yeah.
And he's and the lady that didn't want to sell him, but she said, I want him to go to somebody who's going to look after him and let him work. So this is what I came up with. And she named him Geronimo, because when I look at the picture of Geronimo, that's him. That is him to a T. But
Fabulous.
I've also just found out that I've got a Native American guide called Running Bear that's just come in. So, but he's absolutely stunning. Seeing him like this is not doing it, but he works with me.
Beautiful.
So he heals with me as well, Leslie. You'd know about healing with crystals if you being a healer.
Speaking of Leslie, actually, because Irene, Leslie, and myself all have something in common, and that is actually meditations. Because a little bird tells me, Leslie, that you're quite known for your guided meditation.
Yeah, I've done quite a few on SPTV.
Yeah.
And I'm very lucky that I'm given the meditation from spirit. So like Irene, I write them down, and probably only got about 50 or 60 at the moment that I've written down, and then they're lovely to keep. And again, you know, all sorts of different ones, going into the sea, flying, mountains, you name it. I don't think there's many places that I haven't been.
I know, I'm with you on that, because again, I'm the same with, because I don't do this very often, but shameless plug, Mastering Liminality, my latest guided meditation album, is available on Spotify and all other places. But yeah, it is absolutely guided by spirit, because they're the ones who know what they can take us and show us. We do have to be guided by spirit in that way, and there's just an infinite number of gorgeous places. I've been to a crystal cave as well. My favorite was actually given
Pyramids.
by Yes. Now, tell you what, the most interesting one I ever had was given, ironically, and that's why I wanted to bring you in, Leslie, when I was on my healing course by the healing leader of the time. His name was Nick, and he took us to a windmill.
Oh, wow.
And I still use elements of his introduction. As you breathe in, feel the air as it passes the tip of your nose. I still use that even today, and this is like 20 years ago now. So you're absolutely right. Got to be from spirit. So your inspiration, you write them down and you keep them.
I do, yeah, because again, like Irene, once they want to give me one, you know, I could be in the middle of doing something really important, and then no, you've got to write this. So then I have to sit and write it. I can't put it off and say, no, well, I'll do it later on. It has to be there and then. And so I will write it all down, and then I know that I've got it, and I won't leave any bits out and things like that, because I wouldn't remember it all. I mean, I could go along as me and do it, but I often get, you know, people will be given gifts during the meditation, different words, different colours and things like that to take away that's personal for them. But also, talking of writing, at the end of qualification for the healers, I always do a little where I hand out the certificates. I can't think what you call them. My brain's gone dead. Somebody will tell me in a minute. Little service where I hand out the certificates, and I normally always buy a little gift for them to keep each, you know, to remember their course. And I always get a bit of inspirational writing for the group from spirit, which is lovely, and it's always different, so that's nice to keep. And I always give them a copy to keep with their certificate, you know, to look back on. So yeah, spirit they are amazing, aren't they? And if they want you to write something down, they won't leave you. You have to
Have you got a favourite one, Leslie? A favourite meditation?
One I use quite a lot is one where I go through a rainforest and we see all different things in the rainforest, and then we go to a waterfall and a pool that changes colour, and for people to go into the pool and just to lay back and receive healing from the pool and see what colours it goes, and then we go and stand under the waterfall, and it washes any negative energies, anything that we don't want.
Wow, wonderful.
You know, which is quite a good thing. I say to people, quite often say to people, you know, when you have a shower in the morning, just visualize anything negative that you're carrying with you, any aches and pains, just imagine them all just going away, you know, being washed away from you. And that's quite a nice thing. But there's so many, beautiful. But that's one of my particular favourites.
Do you have a favourite one, Nick?
I have to admit, the reason I made it the biggest one, I mean, we're talking about a half an hour guided meditation here. Obviously, that's not all it's quite a big one. I really do love it. It's a play on, everyone talks about sitting in the power. I'm more about action and movement, so I've called it swimming in the power. And it is actually taking someone to a beach and to an ocean and just floating and drifting along that ocean, and then coming back and, you know, packing away all of your troubles into a chest and burying it underneath sand. And I love that one because it is a catch-all. But I don't think I have a particular favorite, because I tend to base the moment on what is needed, and certainly say, give me something that is useful and necessary and needed that will help today. So I mean, and this is where I'm at a disadvantage with you guys, because I don't sit and write them all down, because I'm doing like 3 or 4 meditations with other people a week now. I don't sit down, but they're virtually never the same, because there is such as you say, a wonderful, wonderful universe of infinite possibility out there that is that intertwining, interpenetrating realm of spirit. And, you know, it's I've been some pretty freaky places in my time, and I love them all. I really, really do.
Mine are like yours, Nick, 40-45 minutes normally. I did one that Spirit gave me of actually going to a fair and a swing park, which was really strange, just to bring out the child in people and that feeling of going on the swings and down the, you know, the old helter-skelter like we used to, which was
I took the Wednesday Circle there last week.
Did you?
Yes. Yeah, took them to a fairground, listened to the music. Couple of people weren't too happy with the Ferris wheel. I think it got stuck. But there you go. But no, it's lovely. And you know, you see when people talk about these meditations, the various different overlaps, and although it's never quite exactly the same, the similarity is another little bit of subtle evidence there that Spirit know what they're doing. They know what they're doing.
They pick the right one for the right time, don't they?
Absolutely they do. Same with poetry. They pick the right poem for that service. You know, I mean, last night I was going to read Time Out, but then I got the reading was on angels, so I quickly changed it to one I only wrote yesterday called Angel's Wings. So you know, do you have a favourite one, Glenda? Favourite meditation?
I kind of like a bit of the woo-woo stuff, like, you know,
the woo-woo stuff.
The woo-woo. I call it the woo-woo stuff. So my favourite ones are when I get into a little spaceship and off I go up to the universe.
Oh wow!
And we go up to the universe, and you go through space, and you're visualizing going through space. And you know, what do you see in space? Where do you go from there? You know, but then we land in the grounds of we call heaven, and we go through a big, massive healing room. So we go in and we get healing. And then we go into the garden and we get to hang out with our loved ones and get the messages from our loved ones and, you know, experience all of that, and then come through all the way back in your little spaceship and all that sort of stuff. So, I like the woo-woo ones.
Well,
Where did I take you when you came to Circle?
No, we went to the cliff on the ship. on the ship.
That's yeah. I couldn't remember. I can't remember.
So I might come to Circle on Wednesday. So I might be in for that.
Awesome.
Well,
weirder the better.
When I read in the Bible, it says in the Bible, in God's house, my house has many mansions.
Many rooms, yes.
Many rooms, many mansions. And when I have that wonderful feeling of going astral traveling, I'm taken to a different place every time, because there's one place for children, there's one place for animals, and there's another place for families. And the nice thing about it is that there's no doors, and you can wander in. Your animals can come to you if they want to. You can go to them. The children can go to family, and the only time really the families get together is when somebody is going back home to spirit, and then they have, as you all know, you're always greeted and met by your family. And if there isn't family there, it's normally a priest or a nun or an angel that will come across. And of course, there's always beautiful healers there to take the children that have been lost in the womb to go straight back to spirit, because they do say that if you lose a child in the womb, then they are pure spirit and they don't come back to earth again. I don't know how true that is, but that's what I've always been taught. And I can believe that, because these little souls need to grow up in spirit as our own children need to grow up on the earth plane.
Well, I'll back you up with that. I've met 7 of my brothers and sisters in spirit.
Yeah.
And they were between me and my sister. And I don't mind admitting it. I love them all dearly. One of them's a right rapscallion. I'm not going to deny that. But they do progress in spirit. I truly believe. And I've been given astounding messages by mediums confirming their own growth of identity, and the difference in personalities of each of them are reflected in those messages, and individuals come through as it would be an uncle. Now, in the first instance, when you're getting that information, you can't validate it in the same way as someone who's on the earth plane. But the more that message comes through, there's your validation, because it's coming, as you say, purely from spirit.
Yeah, and it's a wonderful thing to do, and it's wonderful to be able to go. I mean, I went in meditation, and I've written, again, my poetry. I've wrote one called The Shop, and this reflects on, in one of my meditations, I was outside this shop with beautiful crystals and tarot cards and everything spiritual. And there was a boat coming towards it, and my mum was in the boat. And my mum loved to shop. She really did. And we went round, and I know that spirit had brought her for a reason. And, you know, we went round the shop and we spent some time together and this, that. And then when it was time for her to go, I had to let her go back in the boat and go back to where she came from. And then the clothes. But it was very emotional writing that for me, because it reflected everything. I lost my mum in 2000. There was 7 weeks between, and 1 day between losing my dad and losing my mum. So it was a double whammy for me. But I know that my dad and my mum work with me. I know my grandma works with me. So if anybody tells you that your family cannot work with you when you're a spiritual medium or a psychic medium, it's so wrong, because I know that Jean works with her dad, who was also a medium. So, you know, it's your family can. And there was a lady last night. She's just starting on her spiritual journey. And I said, with you, darling, it's a lack of confidence. And she said, yes, I've been knocked back. I said, don't let them. I said, you have a lovely, you know, granddad here is with you, and he's going to want to work with you. And she said the same thing. You family can't work with you. Yes, they can, and they do, and they bring wonderful, and they help to bring messages through for other people in the congregations. So
beautiful.
Wow, anyway, what a show. What a show.
Indeed. And I know we've kind of overrun, but we did miss about 5 minutes, so we're kind of like at time. Leslie, Irene, thank you so much for coming on. Glenda, I know you've not been feeling great. You've held up beautifully, my darling, as ever.
Well, I know it's nearly 9:45 and I need to go to bed. I'm very tired and I've got a full day of readings tomorrow.
I'll send you loads of healing, Glenda.
Oh, thank you.
And I'll send you some healing as well.
Thank you. I'm going to
from me and Geronimo. I'll send healing from me and Geronimo.
Bless
Could
you.
I just say, Nick, I know Richard said about if anybody wants to join my next group, I'm starting on the 8th of September at Wimbledon Spiritualist Church. If anybody is in-house at Wimbledon, if anybody wanted to join me, they can either private message me on Facebook, Leslie Moulton, or can I give my email address?
If you want to.
Yeah, it's lesnight44@hotmail.com. So if anybody, wants to contact me, we can sort something out.
Fabulous.
Thank you very much for having me today.
And you said that was the 8th of September.
8th of September, I'm starting, yeah.
Wimbledon
I don't take people on during the year. I've had one lady that's waited with me, or waited, bless her, for 18 months to join the course, because the last one lasted 4 years because of COVID.
Yes.
And they all stayed and they all qualified. So their poor course took them 4 years, rather than the 2. So, But thank you for having me.
Leslie,
sorry?
Are you going to be doing another counselling course online?
I will be, yeah, but the counselling course I do is it's not a really in-depth counselling course. It's for all the healers that have qualified, or any mediums that belong to United Spiritual Fellowship that want to become ministers. They have they have to go down that route. So so they get the big training before they actually go on to be a minister or whatever. But I did it originally because I found it was it enhanced my healing, because it helped get being able to get people to talk properly and that sort of thing. So it's quite
that's why I was interested in it, because I'd love to do something like that.
Excellent. Well, we can talk about that after the show, because I need to get Glenda to bed.
Okay.
You can have that for the blooper reel if you want. Well, friends, thank you all so very, very much. Thank you all for being with us. God bless you all. May the peace of the Great Spirit go with you all. From me, it's goodbye.
From me, goodbye.
From me, Sue, goodbye. And Richard too. Good night. God bless. And see you all soon.